the first Mishnah still. We gave an introduction 2 sessions ago, and then we gave the Mishnah's own introduction, which is Moshe Kibel Torah Sinai. And now we're moving into what the Anshe Knesset HaGadola themselves actually said. Heim amru shlosha devarim. Hevu metunim bedin, v'hamidu talmidim harbeh, v'asu siyag laTorah. And when it starts off with a statement like Heim amru shlosha devarim, obviously that doesn't mean they only had 3 things to say. It means that when Perkei Avos was deciding and determining which were the main statements, that was their message, that was their message for the future generations. But if you're going to remember the Unshaken Gadola and what they represented and who they were and the message they're giving to the future, this is what they would have to say to you. Imagine you would have a grandparent who you're interviewing them, and you have a list of questions, and the last question is, what message do you want to give to all the future generations? And that's the Hem Amru Shlosha Devarim. And in light of that, it's interesting that these are the 3 things that they chose. We'll go through them one by one, and we'll give an interpretation according to the Pshat. But then we're going to take a zoom out, and we're going to ask, what really are these 3 things so crucial, so foundational, that they would be the 3 major things that the Anshe Knesset HaGadola have to share? So starting with the Pshat. Hevu mitunim bedin. So Rabbeinu Yonah, in his first interpretation, he explains this talking to the Dayanim. When Dayanim come to paskin a case, then there's an inclination to say, oh, this is a case I've heard before. I know exactly how to relate to this. I've had a case like this in the past. It must be the same as some other case that I once paskin, and they'll jump to make a psat. They'll just go on their first thought without looking into the din, meaning the halacha, and looking into the facts of the case, and they may come to give a psat without having thought it through in a clear way. And therefore, the first statement that the Anshe Knesset HaGadola wanted to give was to teach the Dayanim. The Dayanim who were paskening dinim, that they should not jump to a conclusion, not try and compare it to other cases they've had in the past, but think it through very clearly. That's halacha number 1. Halacha number 2, v'ha'amidu talmidim harbeh. And this actually has got a lot of background, or future around. The Gemara in Brachos speaks about a machlokas between Rabban Gamliel and Rabbi Eliezer regarding how to teach Talmidim. And this machlokas is also brought as a machlokas in Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel. Is it better to have a small group of Talmidim who you're focused on and investing in and you're building them? Or is it better to have a large group of Talmidim, even though that means you won't be able to teach necessarily on the same high level, but you'll be able to spread Torah to many more people? That was a machlokas that took place. Rabban Gamliel only wanted people, Tocho Kaboro, who their spiritual level was very high and they were worthy. Also, Beit Shammai only wanted people who were very worthy of a high caliber. And came along Rabbi Eliezer and he changed the policy. And also Beit Hillel disagreed. And they both said, like the Anshe Knesset HaGadola pasuk, and also here, v'ha'amidu talmidim harbeh. There is more value in spreading Torah in a broad way to many talmidim than to limit the Torah and make it elite and make it for a few. That's principle number 2 the Anshe Knesset HaGadola wish to teach. And then principle number 3, asu siyag laTorah. Based on the pasuk, the Rashi brings it, asu mishmeret lemishmarti. Pasuk says in Vayikra Perek Yudches, ushmartem et mishmarti, and Chazal say in Yevamos Daf Kaf Aleph, asu mishmeret lemishmarti. That if you were to take mitzvahs seriously, or averas seriously, you want to put a boundary around them, make sure you're not going to come to do any issur, so you put a boundary around the Torahs, and it's saying therefore set up boundaries in order to make sure you don't get to that. So we're reading this introduction that the Anshe Knesset HaGadola are saying it to us, and we see these are 3 important points, not to be taken lightly, but we spoke about yesterday that this Mishnah is the transformation generation. It's where we're moving from Nevuah into Chachamim, where from now on, from this point onwards, all of wisdom of the Das Hashem is coming through us. It's coming through the Chachamim. And you would expect the first Mishnah, the foundational principle to be taught in this Mishnah, would be teaching you something mind-blowing, something broad enough that it's going to set you up for the rest of Perkei Avos, something which is going to express the era that it was taught and the caliber of the people who were teaching it. And it seems like it's 3 random, important, but random points. And a derech in Perkei Avos, which we're going to try and hold on to as we learn together, is whenever someone says 3 statements, and it's usually 3, then first of all to see what the underlying connection between those 3 points is, and if possible also see the order that they're taught in. And that way, as well as getting the Musar HaSkel from each individual point, we're also going to zoom out and get a broader understanding of what the perspective of Chazal is in the message they're trying to teach us, the connections they make. And that makes our question all the greater. Like, what were Chazal thinking? What were the Unshaken coming to teach us? What underlying major principle is being taught here behind these 3 principles? What's the message the Chazal were coming to teach us? So in order to answer that question, 2 people who discuss this are the Maharal and the Nefesh HaChaim. The Maharal answers this question in 5 different ways, and the Nefesh HaChaim in 3, and we're going to be working with the last of the Nefesh HaChaim's answers. The Nefesh HaChaim has a Perush Ruach Chaim, which I've recently become extremely fond of, and in the Ruach Chaim, in his 3rd answer, he writes the following. Gimel Elu Keneged Gimel Chalkei HaNefesh. In man, there are 3 levels of soul, which parallel the 3 faculties of man. There's the mind of man, there's the heart of man, and there's what they call the liver of man, which parallels the faculty of thought, the faculty of, let's call it emotion. It's broader than that now, emotion, but it's going to be expressed right now in speech, thought, speech, and action. It goes in order: the mind, then the mouth, and then the hand. These parallel the 3 aspects of the soul: nefesh, ruach, and neshama. The neshama is the highest level of the soul, which is the pure place where the thoughts are. The middle and the central place of the soul is the dibur, parallels with the speeches. And the lowest part of the soul is the nefesh bahamis, which represents the instinct of man. Now, that's all the Nefesh HaChaim says over here in the Ruach Chaim. He brings proofs for each of those 3. And then he says that those 3 align with the 3 sections of our Mishnah. I'll quote it to you word for word. Havei metunim bedin keneged machshava, להעמיק ולעיין במחשבתו בעומקה של הלכה. ואחר כך ושיננתם לתלמידים כנגד הדיבור. And the final one is ועשו סייג כנגד המעשה. Now I want to take that statement of the Ruach Chaim and go into it in much more depth and understand it, how this is going to answer our question. What did Chazal have in mind when they were teaching these 3 principles? How are these the basic principles of the foundation of man, which we're going to need to understand before continuing in Perkei Avos, to understand who we're dealing with, what kochos HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given us, and what perspective we need to have. That's our goal for this session. To precede that, I want to add one more point. Our question essentially is, why didn't they start with a Mishnah that was more foundation, more Yisodi? Now, if you're looking for a more Yisodi Mishnah, you can go to the next one. The next Mishnah says, Rabbi Shimon HaTzadik haya misharek kesed gedola, hu haya omer, al shlosha devarim ha'olam omed, al ha'torah v'al ha'avodah v'al gemilut chasadim. Now that's foundation. There are 3 principles that the world stands on. That would be a good opening. So why didn't we start with that Mishnah? Or he's also from the Unshaken Gedola. They could have started with that. Maybe it's to teach you a very interesting principle. You see, if you look at the 3 in our Mishnah, they're all to do with Torah. Metzunim bedin is to do with dinim of Torah. Talmidim harbeh is to do with teaching Torah. Vasus siyag lo Torah is to do with teaching Torah. Is to do with fulfilling Torah. So all of our 3 are to do with Torah. Then the next Mishnah says, Torah va'avodah gemilut chasadim. Torah is only one of the 3. So perhaps this is a message that Chazal wanted to give us. And this idea I heard from one of my Rebbeim, Rabbi Shochatovich. He said that when Chazal were coming to teach you, there were 3 principles. They wanted to teach you that preceding all of those 3 principles, underlying them all, comes Torah. You can't have avodah if it's not preceded with Torah, and you can't have chesed if it's not preceded with Torah. And let's tell a story just to make that clearer. The Gemara says that when Rabbi Akiva first started, B'tchilat Shimusho, was a Baal Tshuva, he was walking, and he saw a meis mitzvah. He saw a dead body lying. And he thought, what an opportunity that I have here. And he picked up the meis mitzvah, and he carried the meis mitzvah, and it was a challenging work for him. He was schlepping, carrying the dead weight. And he eventually gets to the town and he buries, and he comes into the Chachamim and he shares with them, you know what mitzvah I just fulfilled? I just schlepped this mace mitzvah all the way and I buried it myself. And the rabbis looked at him and they said to him, Ki'ilu shafachta damav. It is as if you killed him. And Rabbi Akiva was in shock. I just did a great mitzvah. How can you say that I did a bad thing? I did a good thing. And the rabbi said to him, the halacha is that it makes mitzvah koneh makomo. That if someone dies in a particular place, that they acquire that place. And you're not supposed to give them tsar by carrying their body. The neshama is hovering over the body there. Bury them there. You did the wrong thing by carrying. Now Rabbi Akiva didn't know. It was tchilat shimosho. He was just beginning his path in avodas Hashem. But you see from there that even if a person is coming to do chesed, but if his chesed is not based in halacha, if his chesed is not based in Torah, then his chesed may be a mistake. And it may be ki'ilu shafach damam, may be inappropriate. And therefore, a general principle, the Chazal were telling us by the order of this Mishnayos, was that everything that you're going to learn later on, all the foundational principles you're going to learn as we continue in Perkei Avos, chesed, avoda, have to be rooted in Torah. They have to be emanating from Torah. Because for us, it's not ethics, it's not morals from a secular perspective. It's not just you can do chesed. It has to be emanating HaKadosh Baruch Hu's desire in order to connect back to Him. That's a general message. Now let's take it more specifically and go through them each one by one. Man has three levels. Man has a level of mind, his thoughts. Man has a level of speech. And man has a level of action. And in this Mishnah, we are being given hadracha, guidance, on how to relate to all of those three levels. How do you relate to thought? Metunim. How do you relate to speech? Ha'amidu harbeh. And how do you relate to action? Siyag. If you think of it, these three are three very different kochot hanefesh, directions of movement in the soul. Metzunim is being stable, to be pausing, to be resting where you are. Hamidu talmidim harbeh is expansive, it's broad, it's going out of your limited box. And then siyag is putting boundaries. It's quite the opposite. So you have three different kochos hanefesh. A koach hanefesh of being calm and stable where you are, a koach hanefesh of expansiveness, and a koach hanefesh of being limited. Chazal are teaching us when to use each of these three kochot hanefesh. The first one is din. Now din here on a specific level, like we saw the Rabbeinu Yonah quotes at the beginning, is talking about Dayanim and a Beis Din. However, the Maharal and also the Chasam Sofer and the Tiferes Yisrael and the Orchat Tzadikim also quotes it. They explain this Mishnah is not speaking specifically about Dayanim and a Beis Din, but rather it's speaking about every Jew in the perspective they have, the way that they are judging. How do you judge other people? How do you judge yourself? The way that you think of other people and the way you think what they think about you is your din. It's you're being done. You're judging others. And also when you think about yourself, you think, did I do a good job? Did I do well enough? What are other people thinking about me? Why am I always doing that? Why does that happen again and again? Let's say, for example, you didn't have the strength or the courage to do a certain act or say something, and then finally you go and you do it, and then your mind starts working overtime and thinking, why did I do it this way? I should have done it that way. But we're talking now on the level of thought. What's the level of thought? Should one be expansive in their thought? Should one be limited in their thought? Comes the Mishnah at the beginning of Perkei Avos and says, Hevu metunim bedin. When it comes to the way that you judge, you should be calm, metun, stable. You shouldn't be overthinking things. You shouldn't be thinking, maybe he did this and maybe he did that and maybe I should have done this, maybe I should have done that, and drive yourself insane of thinking thoughts that are going around and around in your mind, where you ruminate thoughts over and over again. have a matzunim b'din. You also shouldn't go to the other extreme, where you become apathetic and you're not interested in things that are going on. You're not thinking things through deeply. You're taking things on a superficial level, rather not limited, not expansive, matzun. So level number one is the level of thought, which parallels the neshama, and the instruction that Chazal are giving us is have a matzunim b'din. Now we're already getting a feeling of why this is the first Mishnah, because this is building the binyan ha'adam, the binyan ha'nefesh. Who are we when we're coming to relate to the rest of the Perkei Avos? Who are we? What are our three levels? And how to relate to each of those three levels? We're getting now a taste. That's the first level, the level of thought, havei matunim b'din. At the next level, hamidu talmidim harbe. This is talking about the level of speech. So first of all, you see that on the level of speech, it's referring to teaching talmidim, which already means, just the word talmidim, means that the way that Chazal understand that we should be using our speech is to be influencing others and inspiring others and teaching words of Torah to others. Imagine that you are a Rebbe and you have Talmidim, even if you're not a Rebbe, and you only know Aleph and Beis, and there's someone else who only knows Aleph, but you're using your words for Torah. And even if someone knows more Torah than you, but you just learned something, share it with someone, even if they know it already, just to be speaking words of Torah. And here we're talking about being expansive. When it comes to teaching, influencing, there's no limits. And not like Beit Shammai thought, and not like Rabbi Gamliel thought, to hold the Torah to yourself and to have Talmidim that are your prized Talmidim, that you're teaching Torah to an elite group. No, expansive. When it comes to Dibur, increase and increase and increase. Any Torah, if it's Torah, any Torah that you can teach, any opportunities you have to share words of wisdom, don't hold back. Now, if you want to be medayik in the language, there's a very interesting insight. That the Mishnah doesn't say, Tilmadu harbe talmidim. Or it doesn't say, Tilmadu talmidim rabim. There are two diukim we can make it. Number one is it uses the word ha'amidu instead of the word lelamed, lamdu. And it uses the word harbe instead of using the word rabim, which would be a more appropriate word. If this meant teach many students, then it would have been written in a way, lamdu talmidim rabim. What is ha'amidu talmidim harbe? And this idea I saw in a number of Mefarshim in different ways, but I'll quote the Chassid Yavitz, found here in the library. If anyone finds a more updated version, I'm grateful. This is very tiny, Rashi print. It's worth it, definitely worth it. So he writes, the word ha'amidu is not referring to teaching the Talmidim, but it's referring to giving them standing, giving them the ability to stand. And that could be in a number of ways. It could be financial. Enable your Talmidim to have the financial stability that they can learn Torah. That's one way. And then in some way it's an instruction not just to the Rebbe, but it's an instruction to even Balabatim. Ensure that in your town, that in your neighborhood, there are opportunities of teaching Torah, of learning Torah. Support yeshivas, support institutions. Hamidu talmidim arbeh. But it also could be talking to the Rebbe. You're a Rebbe. You have a Talmud in front of you. Are you building him? We're talking here on the level of words. When a person uses words, sometimes a person uses words which builds the Talmud, and sometimes he uses words which crush the Talmud. Let's say, for example, a Talmud said a pshat in the Gemara, and it wasn't accurate. So a Rebbe could say a pshat. What were you thinking? That's an Amaretz thing to say. And there are Talmidim who can take that, and there are Talmidim who that could crush that. But if the statement here is Hamidu Talmidim, use your speech to build. Say something like, you're saying very good, I see where it's coming from. Say it better. You're saying so well, say it better. Hamidu Talmidim. Ask the Talmidim questions that bring out the Torah from within them. It doesn't say just teach the Talmidim. It says you have to enable the Talmidim to be standing, to give them the emotional backing through your speech, in order to enable them to stand on their own feet. And how much should you do that? Harbeh. Don't think that if you say that once, because the word Rabbim means many, but Harbeh means to do it a lot. So the way that we're understanding now, and this is the Chassid Yavitz, is Hamidu Talmidim Harbeh. But we're talking about using speech. And Chazal here are giving us instruction of how to use your speech. They're saying use your speech for Torah in a way that's going to build people again and again and again. Ha'amidu, build them, give them standing, talmidim in Torah, harbe, again and again. Don't think that because you said a positive word once, that's it, you fulfilled your obligation. You check the form and you're finished. Ha'amidu talmidim harbe, again and again and again. So that's the level of speech. We started with the machshava. When you're judging, you should be judging in a way that you're not ruminating. You're judging in a way which is not limited, but rather you're stable. Mind, stable. Speech is used for Torah, expansive as much as you can again and again. And how are you doing it? You're building people. You're building the Talmidim. You're building their inner worlds full of Torah. The last one, Vasu Siyag LeTorah. Now we're talking on the level of action. And Chazal here chose to speak about action of lo ta'ases, and not doing averas, and says put a fence around. And here I feel impelled to read together Rabbeinu Yonah's interpretation. It's phenomenal. Rabbeinu Yonah writes that there's a level of doing a mitzvah or not doing an avera. That's a good level. But there's a level of putting boundaries around that, which is even a higher level. He quotes the Gemara that says that it's even more chaviv to fulfill the derabbanans than it is to fulfill the doraitas. Meaning you have the ikar mitzvah, and that's good, but you have the geder around the mitzvah. You have the boundaries that you place around the mitzvah, and that's even better. Now, why is that better? How is that better? Listen to these sweet words. Hamakayem divrei chachamim, shehem sayagim, chibev ha'yira mimishoseh ha'mitzvah atzma. Is even more precious than the one who does the mitzvah himself. Ki ein asiyat ha'mitzvah hochacha liyira, kamor hashomer sayagim. When we're speaking about doing mitzvahs, we're not talking on a technical level. We're talking here on the level of action. The Chachamim are coming and giving us instructions of how to fulfill those actions. They're coming and saying, don't just do the action, where your goal is an action, which is external action. Because if you do something in an external way, then from your perspective, if you do it, it's good. If you don't do it, it doesn't bother you. How is that expressed? It doesn't bother you if you don't do it? Because you didn't put a boundary around it to show that it's precious to you. However, Divrei Chachamim hem yesodot ve'ilanot liyirat shamayim. When you fulfill the derabbanans, and when you put boundaries around the halacha, not only are you building the mitzvah itself, but you're building yirat shamayim. Shehu ha'ikar ha'olam ve'yesod ha'ma'ala ve'kol ha'mitzvot kulon parparaot eleha. All the mitzvahs are just external. They're just light, they're hors d'oeuvres towards the goal of the mitzvah, which is the yirat shamayim that it builds in you. And that's why the boundary around the mitzvah expresses your yirat shamayim even more than the mitzvah itself. If you do the mitzvah because you were commanded, you don't put a boundary around it, you'll say, okay, I'll do the mitzvah, and if I fail and I was late, it doesn't matter to me so much. So that you did the mitzvah, but it didn't build in you yirat shamayim. However, if you put boundaries around the halacha, then what are you showing? You're showing that not just that you're doing the halacha, but it's precious to you. It's so precious to you that you don't even want to come close to transgressing, because you recognize the purpose of the action is the building a relationship with Hashem. And the relationship with Hashem is not only expressed by the doing of the action, but it's how you relate to the action. If you do the action, you may be a devoted servant. But if you show that you don't even want to come close to transgressing it, you're showing that the relationship is precious to you. And therefore you don't want to chas v'shalom even make a mistake by mistake. And that's the third level. Chazal's way of showing us how to relate to action. Action is the opportunity that we have to express our yirat shamayim by showing that we're putting boundaries around the halacha. So now we can go back and answer the major question that we asked. We asked, this is the Unshaken Gadol. And they're coming to teach us the major principle they have to say. The transformation from the era of Nevuah to the era of Torah. Everything, as we said, is based on Torah. even before you get to the chesed and you get to the avoda, it's all based on Torah. And what is the major underlying message and the order that the Chachamim are coming to teach us? Neshama, Ruach, Nefesh. Your thoughts, your speech, and your action. Each of those have to be devoted to Hashem. And it was giving us direction on how to use the entire binyan ha'adam, all the kochos that man have, in a healthy way. Your thoughts have to be well balanced. Mitunim. Don't overthink. Don't be superficial. Judge in a way which is mitunim bedin, where you're focused on a goal that you're working towards, of coming close to Hashem. You're stable and you're calm in your thoughts. Then comes the next stage, the stage of speech. Involve yourself in speaking words of Torah, and always ensure that those words that you're speaking are building the people that you're speaking to. And spend your whole life in an expansive manner, doing it again and again and again. That's the level of speech. And then the Chachamim in their wisdom give us the third level of man, teaching us how to build ourselves, to give us the koach to go through the rest of Perkei Avos. Vasu siag leTorah. When you're coming to fulfill actions, recognize that the action is less important. But the relationship that you build with Hashem through the action, that's what's important. And how do you show that? Vasu siag leTorah. By putting fences and boundaries around the halacha. By showing that the halacha is precious to you. You don't even want to come close to transgressing it. You show Hashem that you care about that relationship. And then you've built all three levels of man. The nefesh, the ruach, the neshama, the thoughts, the speech, and the actions, instruction from Chazal of how to use each one in the most healthy. יישר כוח.